Go.
Hi there. How are you doing, Matthew?
Excellent.
Well, I know it's kind of a tricky and controversial topic, but I'd like to discuss how Oahspe has had prophecies about racial divisions within the United States. And I'd just like to read a bit from this, if you don't mind. God said, because thy slaves went out in darkness and have become wandering spirits, dwelling in ignorance around about the earth, there's no resurrection for them in this day. And basically, what happened is Africans were kidnapped from Africa, brought to the United States under very harsh and dangerous conditions where many died on the trip. And they were sold as animals, even though they're human beings, and they were imprisoned on slave farms where they would work very long days to the point of death, and they were tortured to keep working them. I'm sure there were some slave owners who were less cruel than others, but for the most part, they were probably very demanding and hateful towards their slaves.
So
And go
where's
ahead.
what verse is this in the Wapsi? It says God said.
Okay, this is from the book of the prophet, which was never published in the original of Oahspe.
Oh,
But,
that's okay.
but, as I've said before, I did an authorship test on this, and this matches right with the other books of Oahspe. So if you're concerned about that, I don't know why you should be. I mean, what is it? All of this is really stating is that, you know what? It makes sense. African Americans were badly mistreated, and they died, and they were their families were tortured, their women were raped by the white supremacists, and naturally, they were in very bad shape when they died. So many of them were bent on revenge, and it messed them up. It messed up their whole society. And to this day, we still have a lot of racial hatred. As you noticed, since even after the Civil War, when the slaves were freed, there was still racism, intense racial hatred against African Americans. We had the KKK, we had Jim Crow laws. They weren't allowed to have good schools, and they weren't allowed to have good jobs. And so many of them resorted to crime, which pitted them against the police force, which were infiltrated with white supremacists as well. And that's one reason we've had these killings lately of the African Americans resisting arrest, because the police are not exactly treating them very nicely. So it's pretty clear to me that the white supremacist spirits have stuck around and are inspiring white people to do bad things. And the black slaves who suffered, those who could not rid themselves of their own hateful, revengeful feelings, they came back, and they're saying, "Man, we're gonna get back at these people for what they did. They ruined our lives." Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just a question. This is the first time I've ever seen this. The Book of the Prophet. So where do you think? I see. I don't know if this is the voice of man.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
just the title.
You know where
It-
the book of prophet fits in the Wapsi? Where about does it fit?
It was never published in Oahspe, just as other books, such as the Book of Knowledge, the Book of Ranathan, those were never published
So
in the original Oahspe edition. Newbrough made decisions to change certain verses of Oahspe. Newbrough made decisions to keep certain books out. That was what he did. You'd have to talk to him about it.
so I assume this is one that you believe in. It's powerful.
Well, like, as I was saying a little while earlier, I did a software authorship language test where the linguistic elements of what was written are compared to all the books of Oahspe, and they're also compared to all the writings that Newbro did personally. And this book was grouped with the Oahspe books, like Cervantes, the Book of Judgment. This book, the Book of the Prophet, it wasn't put in a third category where we don't know who wrote it. It wasn't put with John Newbro's writings. It was grouped literally with all the rest of the books of Oahspe as having the same type of language. And this is like a 99% certainty that it was written by the same person that wrote the Book of Judgment and wrote Osiris, Book of Inspiration. They're saying the same author for those is the same author for this. That's and scientifically been proven.
Okay, and what analysis, where did you get your analysis from? What program did you analyze of what was John Newbro's writings compared with the S World writings?
The name I can get to you in a second, but second. Let's see if I can find it. Do you really care about the name at this point?
Well,
I mean,
like.
you're not going to run the program right now, so.
I'd like to know what.
But I'll get it. Okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Hey, how come that's still not?
I mean, read it. Just read it and tell me if you think this is wacky or something. But well, to me, it reads very much as if I read this and I would not think twice if it had been in the original Oahspe. I would not have thought, you know what, this is strange. No, I wouldn't. I would have said to myself, nothing. I wouldn't have thought anything strange about it and said, this really does seem like it's part of Oahspe. I wouldn't have thought twice about it. In fact.
So you got it. You got it in the Castaway.
Yes.
The Castaway.
Correct.
Well, I don't even know what the Castaway is. What's the Castaway?
Newbro put out a monthly brochure, a pamphlet, which would talk about Shalom. And he put, for example, the Zima writings, for example, which many have praised as being very beautiful and likely part of the original Oahspe as well. So, but he did write his own stuff there too, where he would write about, for example, he had an article about how much he admired the Islamic religion and how he admired how the Islamic women were so obedient to Islamic men. Newbro wrote that. There's an article about that, and he would write how the fortunes of Shalom were going. This was done from New Orleans in 1889, not so long before he died. And he was in New Orleans to gather children for the Shalom colony in New Mexico.
Okay. So in the same Book of Castaway, you found, well, the Book of Discipline was before.
It wasn't in the 1882 edition, but it was published later in the 1891 edition.
Okay.
I have the year right.
So the Book of Oronathan. So I've discussed Oronathan with certain people like Ann Roberts, and I said, you know, the current God of the earth. I mean, there's gods all over, but the current God of the earth at this moment is Oronathan. That was my claim. Her claim was, no, it's not. Mm-hmm. What's your idea for that, Oronathan?
Well, Jim Denon discovered the book, and he found it in probably one of the Faithist collections, one of the groups out there, one of the lodges, and he assumed he gave an editorial comment that he assumed it was the current God of the earth. My opinion is it doesn't matter whether it's the current God or it was the one that was 100 years ago.
Right.
The question is,
There's so many,
the
but
question is, what do you think of the message of Aranathan? And for me, it's a very positive message. So to me, it's trivial whether or not the current God is Aranathan. If you think that, I don't have a problem with you believing that. I'm not going to question that you think that's
do
true.
do you believe that?
Um, I don't really know, uh, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was true. I think it's possible. I don't see. Um, it's just a name, and things change. So this came out like 130 years ago. The Book of Rathan was written, 1881 or whatever, and so 140 years was it? So yeah, it's possible that there could have been a change in guardianship of the gods, the God of Earth. So I haven't heard anything officially about it. So uh, yeah, it's a good question.
So I'm trying to look for this other book that you mentioned was in The Castaway, the book of Zamers.
Oh, right, right.
I've never
Uh,
never heard of that one either.
oh, yeah. Oh, well, live and learn.
And
Yeah.
also when I search for it, I
Mhm.
can't I can't find it even with your
Find what?
well, the book of Zamers. I mean, even all quotations and
Well, please improve your research skills, and then you'll be
well,
fine.
I'm trying to find it like book of Zamers and then did you
Right.
publish book of Zamers?
Did I publish it?
Yeah.
I made it available on the internet. I was the first one to make it available on the internet, but it was actually, even though it was published in the um, the Castaway, it was also published in a short booklet that oh God, I can't remember the name. Uh, a, it was called like a Faithist something. uh, uh, an overview of what a Faithist is. He put out a pamphlet, and he put the Zemers in that too. Also, you'll see the Zemers are in the rites and ceremonies of the Faithist lodges that Newbro set up. So it, the verses themselves are found in three sources: the rites of the Faithist lodges that Newbro set up, and they're also found in the publications that Newbro made in New Orleans.
I, I never heard he was in New Orleans. Um,
Oh yeah,
what?
that's a fact.
Yeah,
Because they needed orphans, and that's where he went. I'm not sure why New Orleans came out, but
yeah.
um, that's the case.
I mean, you don't. I have an economics degree. You do not create artificial demand. Like you're actually searching for. I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I can get myself in trouble. But uh, a lot of things what you were saying about um, John Newbrow, it's just kind of troublesome.
What's troublesome? Oh, by the way, I got the name for you for the software. It's called Clarin-PL, Language Technology. I mean, I mean, that's something you should do in your own time. I mean, if you want to have if you want to have a discussion about the software, I'd be glad to have it. But it's called Clarin-PL.
Okay, I just wanted to note that because it's,
Yeah.
it's very easy to check and see.
Well, anyway, that was quite a digression. But
All right, so
uh,
I've talked to you before about what's going on. There was the Minneapolis thing, the Floyd thing, and then the one in Kenosha.
right.
Um, so it kind of reminds me of slavery. Like, do you remember like Um,
It is.
well, so I wanna take that and I want to put a category and I want to put a simile next to it. It seems like during
Could
you know
you
what?
put the quotation back up?
Yeah.
I, we aren't done there yet. Because I really want, I really think we should just consider these words first and then talk about it. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
If you could just scroll up a little bit. Um, okay. Okay. Well, anyway, I won't read the whole thing, but let me just read a part. Okay. Okay. If you can just stop scrolling it and just let it sit.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So anyway, so basically, it's saying, neither doth it avail them any good to pray for the priests nor the church to help them, for the evil that was done must be compensated in every fraction before there shall be any redemption for them. So our nation has to make up for the evil that it allowed to transpire, which is the utter degradation of human beings, immortal souls, children of the Creator, who were made slaves in our nation and just lived miserable lives. And not only during the slavery, but after the slavery was ended, they're still treated pretty bad. And we're finding that today, the police, shooting African Americans without need to. I mean, it's just over. It's just, and I would put forward that the white supremacists of the day are back in our world, inspiring the police, encouraging them to be more brutal than they ever, more just to be brutal when they don't have to be brutal. All those men that were shot, they didn't have to be shot. It was ridiculous. It was like they were crazy. When you watch those videos, you didn't say these are the actions of a sane police force. No, you said they're nuts. Why are they doing this? This is evil. This is crazy. And what I'm trying to say is that the white people who were racist are still in our nation as spirits inspiring other people to hate. And the blacks who got oppressed and want revenge, they're up here too, and they want justice, and they're inspiring Black Lives Matter, but they're also inspiring people to tear the whole place down because they're angry. Just anyway, and so basically, what Oahspe, the unpublished Oahspe version here we have, which is called the Book of the Prophet, says that there has to be justice before there be any redemption for this to happen. If you can, okay, just scroll up a little bit. I'm sorry, and I'll stop. We'll be done. A little more up. I'm sorry, Matthew. Other way. So the text goes up. Okay. Okay. Here. Ooh, yeah. Stop. So if you look about 3/4 of the way down, and okay, here we go. And moreover, even if thou dost this day curse the race that has neglected and despised, they're talking about Americans, so dost thou think thyself in deep bondage. For as Jehovah quickened into life all the living, and thus made them his children, so are they thy brothers and sisters. So
Bob,
racism is wrong.
Bob,
Everyone's your brother and sister. Can I finish this?
yeah, I
And then
just
I'll
want
let
to
you.
say something. I want you to finish it, but
Okay.
stay away from the mic because when you go toward the mic like that, and
Oh,
then it
okay. I don't
gurgles.
have a mic visible.
Well, it's on your computer.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. All right. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry. Nor hath anyone any prestige in the sight of our Father who is over all. God said, till thou canst take them to thy heart and soul and say, my brother and my sister, in this world there shall be no prosperity for thy people, and so it shall be, continue to be, and so the next word. Till thou shalt say, my brother and my sister, there shall be no resurrection in heaven. Maybe a little more up. I'm sorry, Matthew. I won't bust around after this. Let's see. Okay. Well, anyway, that's really kind of it. Basically, the message is our country is messed up because of slavery. And until we help African Americans and treat them as brothers and sisters, we're screwed. There's going to be lots of trouble. Even the nation can even be destroyed by this. That's all I really have to say. The United States can be destroyed by the fact that it had slavery and has not yet rectified, and has in some cases made it still badly, cruelly mistreated African Americans. That's all I have to say, Matthew. And
Okay.
Oahspe predicted this.
Okay, I'm trying to look at something up. Can you just continue until I find this?
Okay. All right. So basically, what this means, all the trouble you see happening throughout the land, there's a spiritual cause, and it's because of slavery. All the spirits are either slaves. All the white supremacists today that are out there causing trouble, they are being inspired by the slave owners from hundreds of years ago, and the blacks who are violent and causing trouble, who are trying to fight against, you know, being oppressed by economics that are against them, or the criminal justice system that's against them. They're being egged on when it's peaceful protest. They're not involved, probably, except for a few of the more enlightened slaves. But the ones who are the most hateful, and when they start around, smashing people or smashing windows, they're being inspired by dark spirits, racist spirits who basically want revenge on the white demons who basically ruined their lives and all the family over. What are you looking for?
I, I'll tell you in a little bit.
Okay. Anyway, so we have to everyone has to look into their heart and look in their situation and say, what can we do to help African Americans have better lives? And that means doing volunteer work of some kind. It means donating to perhaps African American schools. It means voting for politicians who will not put them in a place where they're going to be stuck in gangs and ghettos with bad schools, no job opportunities. They need leaders, political leaders, who will look after them and not, cause things to get worse. So nothing and social problems never end quickly. They're never solved quickly, and they're never solved through doing just one thing. It'll take a lot of solutions. It's going to take all of us together to think of many possible solutions or remedies. And it's going to take time. It's going to take decades. But if we don't start, literally, the United States can be destroyed by this, literally. And that's basically one of the predictions anyway, is that the nations are going to be destroyed because people are not, the leaders have become corrupted and the people are being corrupted. And by corrupt, I mean, doing things which are not virtuous, which would be various kinds of addictions, whether it's drugs or sex or violence or gore. People are not looking to live spiritual lives. I'm not condemning everybody. People are listening to this. I'm not condemning you. I'm just saying that as time goes on, we have to look at ourselves as a nation and say, are we better? Are we improving spiritually? Are we trying to work together? And if you see anarchy in the streets, that's a sign that we aren't doing what we're supposed to be doing. So if things calm down and get better, maybe you can take hope. But if things are getting worse and you see, rioting and crimes and all that, police brutality, you can take that as a sign that we aren't doing enough. And to be honest, Oahspe predicts no one's going to be able to save the United States or any nation, that they're all going to basically self-destruct. And the only real hope for the world is that people build their own communities and become self-sufficient and become in tune with the universe and with nature and with one another. That's basically all I have to say.
Okay, so yeah, I can't find the text. I can't find it. I know it's in there. So okay, Louis Mong, he would torture people and do all sorts of things, and he created a bunch of people who wanted to throw away his doctrines and throw away what was there. They were given free will. Now I'm
Who's
looking
they? Who's they?
at the people who were put early to death by unfortunate means. So they were given free will to do whatever they want. Now people were tortured during uh, people were tortured during the time of slavery and done all sorts of bad things.
That's true. That's very
So
true.
I'm looking at what happened in the past and trying to compare it to our future. The Reformation, where
Things are better in that sense.
right.
I mean,
Well,
but yeah, I agree with that.
so my point is like they were given free will to do whatever they want to put these.
Who's they? Who's they? The slave owners, the American citizens.
Oh, I'm talking about over here, like as the Reformation, the people who before the Reformation,
Are you talking about the Protestant Reformation,
yes,
Christianity?
and
Okay.
that was brought about because people who were pro Jehovah were put to an untimely death, right?
Well, there were certain like New Age Christians where I don't know the Quakers, the Shakers. Some
That's
of them
that's way
they
different.
were put to death. They were put to death in uh, in the East Coast in cities like Boston. Are you talking about Europe or America?
So I'm talking about the Reformation, and before the Reformation,
Okay, Europe.
yeah, Europe. So we're talking about like Martin Luther and stuff like that. But the reason, do you remember God listening to their pleas? The people who died an untimely death during the time,
Oh, right, right.
you know what I'm talking about right now, right?
They were very angry,
Yeah, they were very angry, and they were
and
given
they were used during the American Revolution to protect the American soldiers from the British.
exactly. So these people who had untimely deaths came back toward these false gods, threw them in hell, and they were given free will. Now I'm thinking about like the times now. You know,
Hmm.
there are spirits right now. There are spirits who are crying their voice unto Jehovah. This is my thinking.
Hmm.
That have the same emblem of against the slavery and stuff like that. And because people back during the Reformation were given free will, you could see right now that there might be given free will to against these slave owners. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. You're saying that even though they were slaves and mistreated, they still have free will.
Well, they have free will to come and backlash upon people who the slaves have every reason to go against their owners in this. Do you know what I mean? They have every
Yeah,
right. They've been tortured, they've been treated this bad, so they have every right. Just like those who have been given untimely deaths during the time of Louis Among, they were given. You know what I'm saying, right?
I'm sort of do. Let me see if I can restate what I think you're saying. In that there were kind of martyrs or victims of persecution in Europe, such as such as through the Protestant Reformation times, and the people who were tortured or executed or executed, they as a spirit could have chosen to come back and help, help build a nation where there would be religious tolerance, such as in America, and they chose to help the American soldiers fighting for freedom, and that's cool. And you're saying there's a parallel there with slaves in that they
Right.
are coming
Or,
back.
or just black people in general.
Hmm.
You know,
I don't know if you're, I don't want to, I think the parallel that that spirits can come back and they can decide to either do good, or they can decide to help people, or they can decide to be hateful and hurt people. And I think the slaves obviously suffered far more than the Christians or the New Agers that were persecuted in Europe. Does that make sense?
yeah, but if you can get your microphone's not working. When you
Oh,
go further in, your microphone's not working.
okay. I'll say it again. I think you would agree that the New Age Christians in Europe who were persecuted and were tortured at times and executed at times, they suffered far less than the African American slaves in America. Does that make sense? Do you agree?
Yeah, and they were able to get. I mean,
I
able to
mean,
get whatever you
they
call
spent their whole life, to spend your whole life as a slave where you were beaten, tortured, raped, and told you were an animal, treated like an animal. To me, there's a lot more reason, there's a lot more negativity going on there. Although certainly the victims of the Catholic Church certainly suffered too. Over.
Okay, yeah,
So anyway, I think I can only repeat what I've already said. That people when you die, there are conditions where you can come back and either be a force for good in the world, or you can exact your revenge.
yeah,
And it would help a lot in America if there's more of an effort to lift up or help heal the racial divisions in our nation. It's not happening enough, I guess, is what I'd like to say. Over. I mean,
yeah.
seeing the police shoot criminals, even though they're resisting arrest, it's just way over the top. And I really believe those police were possessed. Maybe they were racist, maybe they weren't, but I believe they were possessed by, dark spirits when they decided to shoot the African Americans, because it's an evil act. There's no way they should have been shot in the back, or or be kneeled on till they suffocated. It's just ridiculous. So to me, the slave owners are still around our nation, and they're still trying to incite more hatred. Over.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't know how much, but for some things you can retaliate. Like at the time of the Reformation, Jehovah said, Louis Among, Kabaliakis, Enochaisa, and um, Gabriel, they kind of did all they could do, and they were actually not helping the system. So they were shut out, and but they had it coming also.
Yeah, hate breeds hate, and you try to break this cycle of violence, the cycle of hatred, because as above, so below. What is bound on earth is bound in heaven or hell.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just continues, and so we have to work together to break this. So I think that's where Oahspe is so important, in that it shows us that we can break the cycle of hatred by understanding there is a spiritual cause to all these things that are happening throughout our world. Over.
So, what is the most important prophecy that you have come in line to regarding the history of right now and what's happening? And, like, for example, this book.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's very significant that it predicted there would be anarchy and a kind of war taking place based on the fact of the slavery, hellish conditions that took place in the 18th century, and as well as the segregation and racial oppression in the 19th century and 20th century, whether it was Jim Crow laws or it was just plain prejudice. And Oahspe's, this book of the prophet said that was going to happen, and that it has the potential of destroying the United States unless we deal with it in a spiritual manner where we look to help the African Americans as much as possible and not get up into this "you hate me, so I hate you" circle kind of thing. We have to come together. Basically, that's what Oahspe's encouraging us to do. To me, that was the most significant. That's the most significant thing, is that it says there's a solution. It means you have to go out there and work. Do volunteer work, sacrifice your time and money to help the African American communities. Make good, have good lives. It's like and we need to organize something where there's a Peace Corps. I joined the Peace Corps. I went to Africa myself and labored 4 years with the poor. But we need I know there's like Vista or something that works with the poor in America. Everyone needs to do more work with the poor in America. That would be my suggestion. Is that Vista be something like Vista, which is volunteers in America helping the poor in America. I think we need something like a very big scale where we're helping to improve, volunteers are helping to improve schools, improve communities, improve job opportunities. And we need political leaders who see that and want to improve things and don't just want the votes of blacks, and don't just, they want to truly help them live good lives. And the police need to be reformed, and the protocol for arrest is ridiculous right now. And I still believe, after seeing these cases of where the Africans have been shot in Atlanta and Kenosha and Minneapolis, it seems to me the people who did the shooting there were reports they had other racist incidents where they were, there were complaints against them. So, this cop's a racist. This is what he did to me, and nothing happened. They were just left to continue in their job. So right now we have mayors and governors in power who are not looking out for African American communities, and they are one of the biggest causes right now that need. So we need organizations which help African American communities, and we need leaders who are committed to that. Not just vote for me and then I'll forget about you. I don't care what party they're from. I would vote for them if a political leader if you could really get someone who would commit to helping these communities where individuals could have good educations, good jobs, good family, happy family. That's it.
Yeah.
There's Frederick Douglass.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway,